Good day, everyone, and thank you for coming on. I am Michelle O'Connell, your business growth strategist, and welcome to our 30-day business growth challenge, where we are talking about how we can help you to build a business growth plan before you go off for the holidays. Now, we have been talking a lot about revenue. We've been doing our revenue planning. We've been planning the initiatives that we're embarking on that will help us to achieve our revenue. And today we're going to be talking about one of the things that a lot of us tend to ignore in our planning, and that is the cost, your expense. So we're going to be touching on budgeting today. If you're new here, once you join, please let me know where you're joining from. And as usual, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave your questions in the comments. We will answer them throughout the live event. Now, I have not met an entrepreneur who is not aware of their revenue targets. So many of us, we have 3-year targets, we have 5-year revenue targets, but one of the missing pieces is, what is it going to cost us to achieve this revenue target? And that is why for so many of us, we feel a sense of overwhelm, or we look at our bank accounts at the end of a period and we think to ourselves, what am I working for? I'm putting in all this effort. I feel like the clients are coming in. I feel like we're generating the revenue, but I'm not seeing it in our bank account. And that is where your profit comes in. And one of the reasons I often say to persons, if you're the CEO and you're the founder, be very intimate with your numbers. You need to know where funds are coming from. You want to know where it's going and when. And that is where your accountant comes into play, because what I'm talking about is your income statement. What I'm talking about is your cash flow. You need to have eyes and ears on the ground so you know what is happening. Now, here's where I find the challenge. We set a revenue target, and you, based on your effort, your human effort, you're showing up, your team is showing up, you're working up late, all that kind of stuff, but you're not seeing that number in your bank account, and that is your profit. That is because what I have found is we have not worked through what is going to cost us to achieve the revenue target. So you set a revenue target for $100,000, and you say to yourself, okay, these are the things we need to do to generate the revenue. But have you assigned a cost to those activities? And that is where our focus is today. I want you to look at the activities that you have documented. So if you joined us, we've been building each day. Last week, what we worked on is identifying the activities that we need to take on in order to achieve our revenue target. And this week, we're going into execution mode. But I want you to reflect on the cost, because as you go into the planning, you want to be very clear what you're able to afford now based on your budget. And this is how your 2 and 3-year plan comes into play, because you may not be able to afford it this year. So you're going to say to yourself, this thing is still important, but let's move it to next year. But you want to look at your expenses. I'm inviting you to look at your expenses. Ask your accountant for your income statement. This is something that you should be getting, whether once per quarter, every other month, depending on your reporting period. But what should not be happening is that you're only getting it when it's time to file your taxes. You can't do that, because then you're not really operating like the CEO that you need to be, because you don't have eyes on your numbers. So I want you to look through your income statement, look at your expenses. And you're not looking at your expenses only to think to yourself, okay, what am I going to cut? You want to also see, what can you optimize? So when you look at your expenses, you want to ask yourself the question, how much revenue am I generating from this expense line item? And you may not know a number, but you have an idea. Yes, this thing is working for us. We have this system. It's making our lives way more easy. It's allowing us to onboard our clients easier and quicker. Communication is working. You name it. There are some tools that you have. However, you may have a tool that you look at it and you think, okay, the subscription is just $30, but am I really utilizing all that this can give me? So let me give you an example. You may have hired someone to help you with your videos. Let's use that as an example, or to help you, do your marketing. However, on the other side, you look at your expenses and you realize that you have a subscription for a tool that can do that for you. Maybe you want to use your marketing consultant differently. You have a tool that's doing the thing. Your marketing consultant now may not need to work 5 hours per week, but maybe cuts down to 3, and they're using their time more to see how the information that is being shared is impacting your audience, instead of just sending out information, videos, or any kind of content. Those are the eyes, and that's the lens that I want you to use when you're looking at your expenses. Now, you want to also look to see what are your top expense line items. You want to look at your operating expenses. You want to ask yourself, do I expect these to go up, whether because of exchange rate, or whether because of inflation, or maybe you have an agreement with a provider where they increase your cost by a certain amount each year. You want to be intimate with that, because what can happen for you is you have a target to generate $100,000 in revenue. You are generating the $100,000, but it's costing you $95,000 to generate that. So that means you're only making $5,000. So sometimes you say, oh, we're not good with math and we're not an accountant. But when you have the conversation this way, you realize that all you're doing is asking the questions that need to be answered. When we go through our activities, because we're going to be talking about prioritization in the coming week, you want to prioritize based on your budget. You want to prioritize based on what you have planned. So let me give you an example. You know that we've been using onboarding process as an example for some time. You know that you need to fix your onboarding process. It may be a costly initiative for year 1, but you know that once you address the issues that you have with your onboarding process, year 2, year 3, year 4 is going to generate a return in the coming year. So that's the way you're having the conversation. You're not just saying, it's going to cost me this, I can't afford it, let's move on to something else. Or, yes, we can afford it, let's go ahead and purchase or invest in this. No. You want to have that kind of conversation. What is the return on this investment? So as you look at your goals, you look at your revenue goal, and you look at the initiatives that we have documented, ask yourself, for me to embark on this, what is it going to cost me? For me to work on my onboarding process, what is it going to cost me? Do I need to hire a resource? Do I need to purchase a system? Will we need to do training? Because you want to budget for that. You train people, you need to feed them, and also you may have them come in on a day where it's not a regular work day. You may need to book a venue. You want to go through your initiatives that you have documented and ask yourself that question. What is it going to cost us to deliver on this? What is it going to cost us to achieve this goal? If I am to work on improve our communication, if I am to buy a new tool, if I am to invest in AI, all the ifs, what is it going to cost? And don't just think about the application. If it's an application, do you need to hire somebody to train? Do you need more time? Do you need to hire a new role? We don't ask these questions. And that is why so many of us have these ambitious revenue targets. We don't achieve them, and we go into the next year saying we're going to do more, when what we need to do is to assign a cost to that activity. And that is what I want you to focus on, because we're going to be we'll come back to budgeting for sure. We're just on day 17 and we're going for 30 days. But what I want you to start thinking about it that way. So when you're selecting the initiatives that you're focusing on, you know why. You start, the questions are rolling around in your head. You're thinking to yourself, okay, it's going to cost, so I need to make allocation for this cost. We will come to a final decision maybe next week, have that conversation as to how you do that. But for now, just have that information, because we aren't just having this conversation together. You're going back and you're having that conversation with your team. You're having that conversation with your advisory board or your group of advisors, whomever is on your team. You're discussing it with them. Because what I find as well is when you're the CEO, you're the founder, you're thinking high level here. When you share your ideas with your team, they may have a difference of opinion. They may know of what competition is doing that you are not aware of. They may know of a tool or another system. They may have an encounter with clients and think to themselves, this is not going to impact the client the way you're expecting it to. This is really what the clients want. All of that will come together. But for now, I want you to look at the initiatives that you've agreed on. And I want you to ask yourself, what is it going to cost? And cost is not just about money. It's about time. It's about people. It's about system. It's about training. Ask yourself the question, make a note of what that cost is going to be. Just predict a number. If you don't know it for sure, use the internet and search what do these things cost, and then look at your current budget. So when you're going to make your decision about prioritization in the coming week, you're making it from an informed position. Do I have any questions? I hope you're understanding. Hey guys, thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on. Any questions? Any questions? So that's your assignment for today. Your assignment is to look at your income statement, look at your expenses, ensure that you're comfortable with those expenses. If there's any that's a red flag, or you need to go back to, or you need to have some more conversation with your team about, circle, have that conversation. And then I want you to look at the initiatives that you agreed on to achieve your revenue target. Those are the activities that we would have focused on last week. And ask yourself that question, what is it going to cost me to achieve these goals? What will it take from us as a company? And if you have a cost, assign that cost to it. So when we're prioritizing now, we're able to prioritize from an informed position, and you don't just have a revenue target, but you know the cost associated with it, you know the expense associated with it, and you can make an informed decision. So you don't feel like you're working and you're not generating a return. So if we have no questions, thank you guys for coming on, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope that you've been finding these few days, these last 16 days, informative. And again, I'm a business growth strategist. And if you are stuck at any point in time and you'd like to book a call, please go ahead and use the link in the comments and schedule your call today. And let's help you to create that plan in a way that serves you and serves your company and serves the mission that you're on. All right, guys, thank you again and have a wonderful day.